Welcome to our podcast, Below the Belt. Welcome. And guys, feel free to let us know how you are receiving the audio. Please feel free to let us know how you are receiving the audio wherever you guys are joining us from. It is our privilege to have each and every one of you with us today. We can't do these programs without you guys. We always say it, we just can't do these programs without you guys. You guys make the program what they are. And so we are so privileged. We are so privileged to have each and every one of you joining us day after day. Well, let's start with program after program, day after day, week after week. And we do say year after year. Let us know how you're receiving the audio out there. We are good to see. We are really happy to see Beatrice Selby, one of the first persons joining us via YouTube's already has joined the podcast, was there waiting for us to start. And we are so happy, guys, that you guys receive us around the world. And afford us to say that we have an international podcast. Today we have two very special guests who are going to be with us. First up, we're going to be talking with Mr. Ronald Austin. And Ronald made quite a mark and quite an impression on our listeners the last time he was here, and we're even more excited to talk to him this time. Ronald is a historian, a columnist, an analyst, an all-round influencer, and he loves all things current affairs. He's an avid reader, and one of the reasons why I've really taken to Ronald. He's my kind of guy. And today we're going to have as well the second half of the program. We're going to be talking with Mr. Rickford Burke. And you all know Rickford is the president of the Caribbean Guyana Institute of Democracy out there in New York. And we're going to be talking to them about It's Safer with Mia in Barbados. You know, there's that election coming up, that general elections coming up. And one of the theme there of the incumbent government is that it's safer with Mia and the BLP. And Mia outlines some areas in which she feels that the population there should vote them back into office for a second term. And we'll be looking at those things and asking ourselves the question, well, if it's safer with Mia and the Barbadian Labour Party, where are we with Irfan Ali and the PPP? And that's the underlying theme for our discussion today, guys. But let's dispense with some housekeeping matters. You know, we always start with what's happening with the weather, what's happening weather-wise, and today is no different, even though we're going to hasten very quickly because I really want to have my guest on. The weather.com, you know, is our place for all weather-related information, and they're telling us it's 28 degrees outside today. 28 degrees in the national capital city of Georgetown, 28 degrees, and there's a 12% chance it's going to rain this afternoon. Well, when we see those low percentage, we don't give much credence that it's going to actually rain, but they're telling us nevertheless, there's a very low percentage chance that it's going to rain, and so we're going to follow that. 28 degrees outside. Folks, how is it where you are? Let us know how you are receiving the audio. Let us know if we're loud and clear at your end. Let us know if it is loud and clear at your end. We want it to be just picture perfect. So let us know how you're receiving the audio at your end. We don't want any trouble when our guest comes on. Pace and power, we said indeed. Andrew Cuthbert reminding us in 2022, that's our theme. Pace and power. William Kosher says it's freezing in Ontario, Canada. He says it's freezing in Ontario, Canada. Derek Smith says he's hearing us loud and clear from Antigua and Barbuda. Loud and clear. That's what he says. There, loud and clear. Good to have each and every one of you joining us from literally around the world. People join us from some far-flung places. Even we are surprised at times. Maureen Coppin Williams says it's cloudy and rainy in Seattle. And, you know, if you're in Seattle, probably it's sleepless there too. Sleepless in Seattle, guys. We are so privileged that so many of you are joining us. We'd have it no other way, guys. Thanks for joining us. Christiel Brandt Richard says she's listening from Brooklyn, New York, and she's hearing us loud and clear. We are so privileged. Carol Jacobs is joining us from one of my favorite places, one of my favorite places in the world. I'll give you all a hint. It got the Blue Lake. It has the Blue Lake there. Joining us from my born tongue, Linden. And then we have Atlanta, Georgia in the house as well. Sion Rodney joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. Good to have you, Sion. And then we have Marilyn Thomas joining us from Queens, New York. Pace and power in 2022, folks. You understand why we say thanks for joining our international podcast, Who Vex, because people joining we from all over the globe. Guys, as you come on the live stream today, we want to see those emojis and we want to see those shares as well. We want to see the emojis and we want to see the shares as well, folks. Marva April, we see you. Joyce Pierce Kingston, we see you as well. Guys, thank you so much for sharing the live stream. Thank you so much for smashing that emoji button so that we can see what are the emotions out there on social media. Thanks to those persons who are joining us on Twitter, those persons who are joining us on YouTube, those persons who are joining us across Facebook, across social media. Welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt, Who Vex Lose. If it's safe with Mia and the Barbadian Labour Party, we'll be there. With Irfan and the PPP, we'll be there with them. Folks, it is my privilege to have with us this afternoon the one and only Mr. Ronald Austin. Ronald, as I said, folks, at the beginning of the program, he's a historian by training, by craft, by profession, by learning, by his education. He's a columnist as well. Fantastic writer, fantastic analyst as well. And he's an all-round influencer. Folks, you can meet a lot of people in your life. And if you forget them, you might miss much. But Ronald Austin is one of the people you should meet before you die. Put that on your to-do list. Ronald, welcome and a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Sheriff. Thank you for your warm sentiments. You are placing me under a lot of pressure. I have to meet those reports or probably surpass them.
I think our listeners know that you can do that because you did that the last time you were on, and we had rave reviews based on your last presentation here. And we know the kind of caliber Ronald Austin has, so we weren't surprised. But our listeners were quite taken in by all that is Ronald Austin Jr.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it, sir.
Fantastic. Ronald, I know that you're somebody who always follows politics. You follow what's happening in international affairs. You're an avid reader and all of that. And we know that you've been following what's been happening in the Caribbean, and more so the advent of Mia Mottley in Barbadian politics. The way in, I think it was 2018, Mrs. Mottley demolished her opposition to the point where she had to end up giving a seat so that somebody can be in opposition in Barbados. It seems as though the tides are changing, and I wanted to give you the chance to give an introduction to that, and then to play an audio clip of some of what she said recently, outlining why Barbadians should vote for her and having your take on that. So I'll give you some opening remarks space.
Right. Good afternoon again, Sheridan. Good afternoon to your viewers. Now, I'm always excited whenever we have a discussion on political affairs, whether in the region or in the international community, because I'm of the view that even though we must stay engaged in our local matters, it's important for us to have a regional and international perspective. Against that backdrop, I'm very excited that we're having this discussion. Before I get to your question, at the risk of being very pedantic or being very concerned about details, I think it is necessary for us to have the listeners put things in the right perspective. Now, Mia Mottley called a snap election on Monday evening, December the 27th, just the day after Boxing Day. The Asians would have still been digesting their ginger beer and their black cake, and others around the regions. And avid followers of regional affairs such as myself, we were on Twitter and we saw this announcement. I actually saw the announcement through Ep.36. And I was taken aback because here was an announcement where a certain incumbent, extremely popular, has decided 18 months out of her tenure, of her very unprecedented tenure, which she got in 2018, she is willing to call a snap elections, cutting her mandate by 2 years. And we were taken aback because remember, Sherrod, snap elections are not fraught with very simplistic implications, meaning that when you call a snap election, you are essentially saying that the mandate me 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I am no longer going to fulfill it for the 5 years, but rather I will cut it short and I will come back to you, the electorates. So the announcement was made, and on Wednesday, January the 19th, a few days from now, we will see what Bayesians think of Mia Mottley. Also, Sharon, if I may, it's important to let the listeners, especially those who are from Guyana, to understand that Barbados elections are different from us. They follow what you call a first past the post system with their 11 administrative districts known as parishes, and you go up for 30 available seats. It is not like us where you have the list system, where there's a popular person at the head of the list, and then you will vote for the list. In the case of Barbados, 30 candidates have to hand in their candidacy. They have to compete within the constituency. So, for example, you have the various constituency, whether it is north and whether it is south of the island. So it is really down to very personality-driven politics. And that is the structure you're dealing with. Now, to your point, and to the fundamental question that everybody's asking, is Mia Mottley in trouble? And for me, Sherrod, the answer, based on everything I have seen and based on everything I have observed, it would be absolutely crazy and baseless and gratuitous to conclude that Mia Mottley and the BLP are in trouble. Why do I say that? Let's not forget, recently, where you had a by-election, you remember the concluded by-election where you had the popular cricketer going up against Moore, and everybody thought it was Floyd Rickford, popular cricketer who went for the by-election. The St. George North constituency. Remember that was held recently on November the 11th. You had the popular cricketer Floyd Rickford going up for the DLP, and everybody thought if there's a chink in Mia's armor to manifest itself in these by-elections. And I paid close attention to those by-elections. And in the end, Tony Moore of Mia's party emerged victorious. And what we saw as what was considered to be a bellwether or a barometer to determine whether or not Mia is in trouble 2 or 3 years after her historic victory, what we saw with the defeat of Rickford is a consistent pattern or trend. So we are months out from that indication, which suggested to us that Mia is not in trouble. Now, the question can also be begged. Why would you call a snap elections now?
I was going there. Go right ahead.
Yeah, and it's a necessary place to go. What could be the political calculus? Now, those who observe these affairs would definitely see the call for snap election as being in the frame of basic analysis, which suggests that leaders of incumbents often call snap elections for 2 reasons. One, to possibly increase their share of votes. But in this case, that boggles the mind because there's no need for Mia to increase any share of votes. She controls 30 seats. The other possibility of calling snap elections could be that you want to catch your opponent off guard, unprepared. You know, when you call a snap elections, you expect that the party out of power might be unprepared And in this case, I believe that possibility is more consistent with what I'm observing. When it comes to the DLP being led by Verla, they are still in massive confusion. You will recall in 2018 when they got the shellacking. Federal Jerome Stewart and others ran away from the campaign headquarters. In 2008, you could not even find them. Reporters went to their campaign headquarters. Everybody was in their homes with their tails tucked. It was massive confusion. The party was absolutely dismantled. And 3 years after, they are still not on firm footing. They have a massive leadership battle they still have to settle. Yes, we're seeing all the pomp and suggestions by Verla that we're ready to fight. I think it's an interesting political calculus because after it's moved its recent Republican status, there was some chatter in Barbados that, Mia is being very dictatorial. She did not consult with Bajans on this issue of no longer recognizing the Queen. There's a talk about her having 30 seats majority with relatively no opposition, that she's emerging as this local dictator who has all of this power and is not being responsible with that power.
Mm-hmm.
There was even a case where there is chatter in her party not being satisfied with her leadership, and maybe they are plotting her. So maybe, Sharon, Mia has decided that, you know what? Since all of my enemies are coming for me, let me go back to the electorate.
Fresh mandate.
And get a similar mandate that I got in 2018. Strengthen my hand so that there's no chink in my armor. And once again now, dispel all of that talk and possibility of toppling me, strengthen my hand further, get a fresh cabinet, and rule with a concentrated grip on power. One last point, Sharon, I think I need to mention this.
Mm-hmm.
You will recall that in 2020, Mia made a sudden move with a cabinet reshuffle. 5 cabinet members were sacked. Senior ministers were sacked. Senator Lucy Lowe, and I want you to pay attention to that name, Lucy Moe, Edmund Hickson, Trevor Prescott, George Payne, Neil Rowe. Now, that name who was sacked in August 2020, Senator Lucille Moore, she has now joined the opposition DLP. She is now their main strategist. So, are you seeing where this is headed? Mia is fighting both an internal battle. She's now going against Mo, who she sacked in 2020, and who still has somewhere along the lines in the DLP, and who may be linking up with others to carry out an internal battle against Mia. So maybe Mia has decided, since you want a battle, let us battle in the ultimate arena. The ultimate arena being elections. Let us go to a mandate. Yes.
Great ahead, Ronald.
Right. So that is my analysis. It cannot be. Well, I think such a conclusion would not withstand scrutiny. There's nothing to suggest that she's in trouble. Yes, you had COVID-19 and there's an economic fallout with tourism experiencing some serious hits. But I think Bajans on the whole are of the view that these things are beyond the control of Mia. I think they accept that nobody could control COVID-19. And even with COVID-19, her leadership throughout COVID-19 has been stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Been very forthcoming with the Bajans. She has been very frank with them. She has not lied to them. She has not engaged in any breaking of the rules, not like Boris Johnson. She has respected the rules. She has kept strict lockdown measures, and she has come to the Bajans consistently, and she has explained to them. So I think they have accepted that, look, these things are beyond her control. Now, is she going to repeat the 2018 30-seat sweep No, I don't think so. I think the main message being peddled by the opposition will have some effect. And that main message being peddled is you need an opposition. If you listen to Verla or the candidates of DLP, their argument mantra is that, look, you need an opposition party. It is dangerous to have a government with 30 seats and there's no opposition. They're arguing that Barbados must have an opposition. If you don't have an opposition, then you are going to develop this kind of authoritarian environment. And they point to the fact that Mia did not consult too much on going from queen to a republic. And they're arguing that if we continue on this trajectory, that Mia herself may unconsciously turn into somebody with authoritarian tendencies. It's a stretch of an argument, but it may resonate with the ordinary Bayesian saying, look, we need to put a check on this lady. We can't have her with this kind of majority. Even with that argument, Sherrod, I anticipate at a 60% turnout, which is the average. You know, Barbados has had 15 elections thus far. I think this one is going to make the 16th election. The BLP has won 8 of those elections, and the turnout has always been around 65 to 67%. Even in this case, if you get a 65% turnout, you might not get 65%. I anticipate you might drop roughly to 55%. And with that 55% drop, it is going to affect the DLP, the opposition party, even more. Worst case scenario, I see Mia possibly losing 3 seats. And I know her party is on course to be in trouble with.
Making a note of that. Making a note of that. 3 seats.
Yeah.
Making a note of that.
Yes. The St. Philip North constituency in the south of the island. That constituency there's a candidate there who has a large family following. Because if you understand how these parishes work, remember, you have to go in your local area and compete. It's not like Guyana where you have the list. So, for example, let's just say Berbice becomes a constituency. Individuals have to go and contest Berbice.
People who are known on the ground.
Roots.
Yep.
Right. It's like right. Barbados has no local government system like us. So when you have local government elections, you get that kind of local flavor of elections. Here with their national elections, it's a constituency-based system. So you have to go on the ground. So in St. Philip North, that you have somebody representing DLP there who comes from a very strong family and who has good influence. So she may lose that. That is a possible seat you're looking at that she might lose. Worst case scenario, Mia is going to get back, I anticipate about 25 seats, worst case scenario. And DLP might come in with another 5 seats. Now, Sarah, there's another phenomenon emerging in Barbados I think I should mention.
Tell us.
There are a bunch of coalition parties. They've come together and decided that they're going to come together. A lot of independent candidates are emerging. You know, Barbados has 2 main mass-based parties, BLP, DLP. And you have these small parties. But you know the whole small parties. A bunch of fly-by-night with no followings. They can't get walking them down the streets of Barbados, and they just exist a name. They have a Facebook profile, they have a social media presence, and I have not seen any of them with any real bite. Right, so they're coming together, a bunch of small parties. They're coming together. I don't think they're going to impact anything. And in my view, to answer your question, in my estimation, based on everything I've seen, and barring any surprise, I don't see Mia being in any trouble. Mind you, Sherrod, I say that with the caveat of surprises in politics. I mean, I postulated that Trump did not stand a chance and he emerged victorious. So one can say, but Mr. Austin, are you not making the same mistake again here? What if you are not predicting well? So I would be rather surprised if Mia gets into trouble. If Mia hits under 14 or 13 seats, if she goes under that, people might jump up and say, oh, Mia lost, she lost a bunch of seats. She lost, if she jumps under 20 seats, persons might jump up and say, oh, Mia's in trouble. But if she drops under 20 seats till she gets 20 seats or 22 seats, it means that the woman was clever.
Well,
Because
we
she
well
called a
we
snap
have a couple
elections
days
now.
out. We have a couple days out, and Ronald, let me tell you, I had Trump figured from day one. While a lot of people were on the Jeb Bush train, when I heard Jeb Bush a couple of times, I realized this incumbency thing ain't gonna work for Jeb, his father, his brother, and so on. I had Trump pegged from day one. You understand?
Right,
So, but
right.
but but
So,
but but that being said, uh, Ronald, I want to know if perhaps Mia is sensing a little more on the ground than we are suspended in this side of the Caribbean Sea. I want to play an insert for you and get your take on the other end, some of which you have touched on, but get a broader perspective on you perhaps on whether Mia might be sensing something different at her end. Folks, take a listen to this, and we're going to be back on the other side with our guests. One of our guests this afternoon, Mr. Ronald Austin. He's a historian, columnist, analyst, and all-around influencer. Folks, take a listen to Mia in her own words, um, asking the Barbadian people to vote for her, and outlining her reasons why the Barbadian people should vote for her. Take a listen to this, and as I said, we're going to be back on the other side with some thoughts.
There's much talk about voting for an opposition, and I hear it, and I understand Barbadians' sense of fairness. But I warn you that when you vote for an opposition, you may end up with a government you didn't want. Can the country afford that at this time? I say not. And if it happens, will we accept it? Of course we will. But at the end of the day, we already know what the consequences of mismanagement and lack of leadership are. They are too recent in our memory, and we bore the consequences and carry the scars still on us. I ask Barbadians to recognize that this is a party that is seeking your mandate, that has not abused power, that has not abused its responsible positions, and that has sought simply not only to make you safe in your homes and in your communities, but has also made us safe and regarded internationally as someone for whom the benefit of the doubt can be given and someone worthy of partnership for us to be able to reach the stars. I ask you simply on January 19th to give the Barbados Labour Party team, all of the 30 candidates are coming to you, give them a hearing, but above all else, I ask you to vote for the candidates of the Barbados Labour Party on January 19th, 2022. Thank you, and may God bless this nation, and may God bless the integrity of our democratic process, because we have always known how to conduct our business and to do so with integrity, with transparency, and with fairness. Thank you, and God bless this nation and our people.
So Ronald, your contention is that there have been some folks on the ground who said that she has not done enough consultation in some of the moves she's made, move from a crown colony, with Queen as the figurative head of state there, and she's arguing here, we have not abused power. You have said that there are concerns on the ground with the management of COVID. She's saying we have made you safer in your communities, in your homes. The economic aspect is a toss up there, and then we can touch on whether Barbados is regarded better on the international stage. And the other side of that, Ronald, is whether if we are held up by the same barometer, where are we with the PPP? Go right ahead, Ronald.
right. Sir, I really don't like to discuss Guyana because this is a very polarized society, and I feel as if my words are pointless whenever I talk on Guyana because there's no prediction. Our thing is boring, is predictable. But based on the audio, Sherrod, you must remember that you are not a political slouch. I keep reminding this is Mia Mottley, educated at the London School of Economics and Political Science at the United Nations International School. Mia Mottley has been a member of Parliament since 1994, representing St. Michael North. She has held several ministerial portfolios, including Attorney General. She has been opposition leader twice. She currently holds 3 ministerial portfolios: Minister of Finance, economic affairs and investment, national security and civil service. This is no slouch. This is a master political operator and communicator. I want to be clear, Sharon. I am not a pro-Mia or somebody who's a sycophant of Mia Mottley. I am merely analyzing, accepting the real politique. Whenever Mia Mottley comes to communicate, Sharon, it is target and strategic communication. If you listen to the statement, she immediately takes head on the kind of whisper campaign that has been led by DLP and their operatives. Look, this woman has 30 seats in the House of Assembly majority, and she has dictatorial and authoritarian tendencies. And if we don't stop her, she's going to become a dictator. She's going to turn Barbados to the next Cuba. We need to stop her. This is the whisper campaign. So what she does, she deals with it head on. In the same breath, she is pointing out that during the entire COVID-19 saga, in which authoritarian and dictatorial rule has been justified by numerous regimes, she said, even if they suggest I have dictatorial tendencies, those would have manifested in these COVID-19 times. I did not use extraordinary powers. She knows exactly what she's doing. And so when persons heard that, everybody, the knee-jerk or Pavlovian reaction, you know what? Why is she talking like this? Is she in trouble? She sounds as if she's a woman who sees something that we're not seeing. And Sharon, barring the prices that I am not aware of, Mia Mottley is not in trouble, and she knows exactly what she's doing. She has calculated that if I wait until 2023 and allow this kind of chatter to fester, the DLP and their operatives may be stronger. Then they may unite as a party, and they may form coalitions that they might present a challenge to me in 2023. Let me catch them now when they're not very solid. So in announcing this grand announcement, doing strategic political communication, she is pulling off a master political stroke. Now, I must concede.
I got a question there.
That in no way.
Go ahead, Ronald.
I'll pause you to ask the question. Let me just finish this train of thought. Now, she understands. I have not fallen victim to the idea of Mia's international popularity. I know most persons probably are getting caught up with the fact that, oh, Mia is extremely popular globally, and because she's popular globally, we think that she's going to destroy any opponents within Barbados' electoral system. I have not fallen victim to that kind of perspective. I have been paying attention. I saw a rally by recently, I think it was last night. She was playing DJ to a dub plate, I think by Wayne Marshall from Jamaica, who did a dub plate. You know what a dub plate in the Jamaican dancehall industry, where you pay about 300 to 500 US, and the DJ will call your name. So if I pay for dub plate, for example, my name is Ronald, the DJ, let's say it's Particular Beanie Man would come on and say, pick up Ronald Austin Jr., it's coming from you live, and I would hear my name being called. The BLP with Mia did a dub plate promoting the party, and it was being played at the rally. Mia grabbed the microphone, she gestured in Caribbean dancehall style, and then she said, "We'll come again," and the song was pulled up. Why am I saying all of this? I'm saying this to say to you that Mia Mottley is a master campaigner. She is not riding on any international popularity. She's on the ground. She was at the rally, and the way she speaks at the rally, she connects with Bayesian. She knows how to change the dialect. So I am not those. There are those who may be tempted to say, "Oh, Mr. Austin, because Mia is popular globally, you're not paying attention to what's going on the ground, and you're not paying attention to the factors on the ground." Now, I'm going to exercise caution. I was wrong on Trump. We did not know what was happening on the ground, and as you pointed out, you were correct. You looked at different factors. I have corrected my methods, Sherrod.
Your methodology.
Yes. I have corrected my methods. What I have done, I've sought to go to the grassroots. In social media, you find all the grassroots commentators and the different sources of information. In the case of Trump, I did not do that. And I didn't see anything to suggest to me that Mia is in trouble. Now, we have to define, Sherrod, what spells trouble for Mia. If she gets 50 seats, for me, that's trouble. If she gets 15 seats, it's trouble. If she gets 25, it's not trouble. If she gets back 23, it's not trouble. But I would say she's not going to get back to worst case scenario. I'm estimating she gets 25 to between 23 and 25 seats in the House of Assembly. And if she does that, she isn't in any trouble at all.
All right. So, guys, thanks for joining our international podcast, Below the Belt. We are privileged to be joined by Ronald Austin, historian, author, all-around influencer, analyst, all things good. And we have joining us very shortly, Mr. Rickford Burke. I want to play, before I ask my wrap-up question to my guest, Mr. Ronald Austin, one of the jingles, just in part, that is making its rounds in Barbados, for you to get a sense of what's happening on the ground there.
Yes, we want she, Mia Mottley. Yes, we want she to lead me again. Yes, we want she, Mia Mottley. Yes, we want she, come sunshine or rain. So we voting again for she, we voting Mia Mottley. We voting again for she, and BLP. True. We voting again for she, we voting Mia Mottley. We voting again for she, and BLP. Mia.
I can see some of y'all already tapping your feet, and I can see some of y'all whining. Ronald, you this is a gamble. This is a gamble, albeit a very calculated one. Is it a gamble that is going to pay off? When we look at snap elections in the region, and we even take a wider sweep, starting in 2013, Australia with Rod, we come closer to home with Kamala Bissessa-Prasad in Trinidad calling a snap election. It didn't work out too well. Is history against me? The wrap-up question as we bring in Mr. Burke.
Mr. Rolly called what was essentially a snap election, a quick election. He emerged victorious. You had it in all of the cases you highlighted. I don't think any of the candidates had an unprecedented 30-seat win 3 years or 2 years ago. I think that's an important factor for us to mention. That happening. Yeah, I mean, what Mia did is extremely unprecedented. Sharon, I'll say this. It would be a massive, cataclysmic, apocalyptic development within Caribbean politics if Mia Mottley loses those elections. It would be so cataclysmic. I think one would be hard pressed in history and find and parallel such a situation to any other development throughout the Caribbean's history and throughout the history of our politics. It teems with that much implications. If Mia Mottley, if we wake up on January the 19th or on the 20th or so, we hear Mottley has been defeated, that would call for analysis that would take us possibly 10 years to really decipher. I don't see it happening. I'm willing to put my reputation on the line. I am saying Mia is not going to lose. I am saying worst case scenario, Mia is going to, her party will probably have about 5 or 4 candidates who will not retain their constituencies. But for me, Mia is really not in any trouble. And the jingle you play with the typical acoustics representing Caribbean and calypso kinds of kinds of sounds, you hear the name Mia, this name that can easily roll off the lips of Bayesians. And she's reminding them of the Mia of 2018. She's reminding them that I became prime minister and I've been traveling the globe. I have lost my common touch. So you hear the selection of the song with the jingle, Mia. It is all strategic and targeted. Mia is on her game. Mia is going to be the prime minister, continue to be the prime minister of Barbados. Worst case scenario, again, her party loses about 4 to 5 seats. Worst case scenario. That's my take.
Fantastic. Well, Ronald, we're going to have you back, whether to hang your hat in shame post January 19 or in celebration.
I have no problem. I should.
Right ahead.
I should mention, if I am incorrect, I will be in very noble and very learned and accomplished company, because all professors of UWI, all learned pundits, have the same opinion that I have. So if I am wrong, let me say early that I will be in very good company to be wrong, because nobody of any analytical consequence, nobody of any learned has concluded that Mia is going to lose this election. So if I'm wrong, I will be company. But I don't.
Ronald, thanks very much for spending this time with us. And we're going to be happy to have you back in very, very short order. Folks, coming up, Rickford Burke is going to be joining us. Thanks very much, Ronald.
No problem. You're welcome, Sherrod.
Have a fantastic rest of the day. Folks, stay with us. We have more coming up. The one and only Mr. Rickford Burke. I'm trying to pull him in the conversation even now. Let's hold for Rickford. Brace yourselves, guys. The one and only Rickford Burke. I'm giving him a quick call and drawing him into discussion. He was supposed to be with us already. Let's hear what's happening at his end. So glad to have each and every one of you guys joining us. So happy to have all of you joining us. Great to have you. And folks, we have with us this afternoon the one and only Mr. Rickford Burke. And Rickford, as you know, is the president of the Caribbean Guyana Institute of Democracy. And Rickford is one of those guys also who understands these issues, international, Caribbean, and otherwise. And I'm very, very eager to hear Rickford's thoughts on Mia and also his thoughts in juxtaposition with the PPP install regime. Rickford, welcome. Good afternoon.
Mr. Duncan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My apologies for having you out so long.
That's all right. We have to give way. We're decreasing in age, Sherrod, so we have to give way to the young people.
Oh, Father, you know, I think it's maybe you is who Rebel was singing about those years ago. You step aside and let the little boy pass. But you're absolutely right.
Ronald might have some. Except, I think Ronald might have some raised eyebrows about the little boy reference.
Folks, you know, those young people among us, the Mighty Rebel was singing about Desmond Hoyt not making his case strong enough and allowing Barry Jacquio to come into the presidency way back when. I think that was 2007. That era. That being said, Rickford, what's happening in Barbados as Ronald outlined for us? Mayor called this snap election 18 months before they were due. Is it, to quote Tyrone Ferguson's book, is this living sensibly or quoting heroic death?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I agree with most of. I'm getting our feedback, but I'm getting
apologies. Let me try to correct that. Right ahead, Rickford. I'm going to try to adjust it at my end.
Yeah, I agree with most of Ronald's analysis. I think one, Mia has been governing, and I think comfortably so. And based on her style of governance, I think she has created some political cracks in the society, which I think she has underestimated. The second thing is, I think the Barbados society became very divided over her lack of consultation with the removal of the monarchy as the head of state and the constitutionally engineered appointment, because it's an appointment of the president, which, the same Sandra Mason, who was the Governor General, became the president. The opposition leader had made, to me, a very effective case, even though they largely support Sandra Mason. They capably argued that that the presidency and the republic emerged from a process that was not sanctioned by the people. Also, I think her COVID emergency measures have generated some ripple effects in the community. If you noticed, a few weeks ago, there was a nurses' strike. And she was very upset and attacked people, And I think people have been, even some journalists have been complaining about her attacks. So what Ronald said was quite correct. She has people thinking that she has dictatorial tendencies, and because of her style of governance, she has no opposition in the parliament. She had to appoint a senator from the opposite side, who then became the opposition leader, because constitutionally you must have an opposition leader. And they have effectively the Barbados Labour Party, the Democratic Labour Party, Barbados.
Correct.
So the DLP, or opposition party, they have effectively exploited her vulnerabilities, and she's made some mistakes. Ronald mentioned her reshuffling of the cabinet, where she fired about 5 of her ministers in 2020 without explaining to the Barbados people what happened. What happened is that she has some serious internal challenges in the BLP because of her leadership style. And, the labor issues, the political issues within her own party, the unpredictable economy. COVID has really hit most countries hard, but Barbados, that depends on tourism and banana and these types of things, where COVID, they require manpower, human resource. COVID has really affected the economy in Barbados negatively. So I think looking down the road, Mia saw that she would be vulnerable. I don't think any leader in their right mind would, just for playting's sake, for the want of a better word, call it a stop election 2 years outside of their mandate. I think so. She clearly sees some sort of vulnerability politically in 2023 when the elections are due. And so she decided that, hey, listen, with all of these things going on, I'm going to call elections now. If you listen to her speech, her initial speech, when she announced that she was calling election, she clearly said that the Barbados society is divided. She clearly said she wants to go back and get a mandate from the people. Now, the reason she has said that is because her governance has caused serious problems within the Barbados society, especially with regard to the removal of the monarchy, which I think is the right thing. Now, Ronald is also correct when he said that she's popular in the international community. She's still popular in Barbados. I don't think she's going to lose the elections, but I think she might lose a little more seats than Ronald predicted. And
Ronald says 3.
This is why we have to remember that when Mia ran for the prime ministership in 2018, she had no opposition. She had Fondel Stewart running, and Fondel Stewart is worse than Granger. He had a
I take your word for it.
term of, no, that's just my opinion, a terrible term in office as prime minister. Remember, David Thompson had died, and by virtue of him being the next senior person, he was Attorney General then, he became the prime minister by default. Of the death by virtue of the death of David Thompson. And, he was a very weak prime minister. He his weakness compromised the DLP, and they had very weak candidates. So Mia had virtually no opposition. But now the tides have changed a little in Barbados. There are significant, I would say, cracks within her, I would say, her support base and within the Barbados society. And I think we might see the DLP getting back their traditional seats, which I would think might be more of 8 seats than 5. I could be wrong, but that's just my view. I think she's going to maintain a 2/3 majority in the parliament. But I think there are some significant problems, political challenges ahead for her. She sees them. She's predicting that the economy is not going to get better. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And she decides that she's not going to take the risk to go out to the 18 years. She's going to call it now because the thing, I think she thought also that the DLP was not organized, and they have significant internal problems with leadership. And I think she predicted that she'll catch them off guard. But I think she may have miscalculated a little. I think she underestimated the opposition party, which is the DLP, and she underestimated the opposition to her governance that has emerged over the last 3 years.
Sounds familiar. Sounds
And
like too much
when
too
I put
soon.
all of that together, go ahead.
It sounds familiar to me, like too much too soon.
Yes. But listen, on the other hand, Mia to me is the only visionary CARICOM head of government right now.
But and Rickford,
they're just to me intellectually lazy.
Rickford, on that note, I'm happy you've said that Mia is the intellectually visionary of the Caribbean, as one writer, as he put it somewhere. She is an acclimist where the spoken and written word is concerned. I want to play for you a portion of audio that is making its rounds in the Caribbean. On that very note, it seems as though Mia's this election here has wider implications, and what is being proposed to the Barbadian people has wider implications. I want to play this audio for us, a portion of it at least, and have your response to it at the other side, Rickford, and members of our listening podcast.
Sure.
Do we have that? All right, let me make sure we have that queued up correctly. Folks, why don't you take the opportunity in the meantime? We have this queued up correctly. Let me just ensure we have it. All right. Jump right back in, Rickford, and I'm going to get that sorted out for us shortly.
Sure.
So we were talking about whether Mia is whether this method, as it were, to this madness, and I think the consensus is yes. Mia is sensing that in 2 years down the line she could have a more formidable opposition, and so it is better she seeks as a renewed mandate from the Barbadian public for her prime ministerialship, and I'm waiting to see if we have that piece of audio, because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving pieces to this election here, and I just want to give you guys, we couldn't cover all of it in just one podcast, but to give you guys a snapshot of some of what may be playing out on the ground there.
If I might comment while you
Great to
find that. She said it. It doesn't call for much political analysis. She said it. She began her speech by saying, well, she got a large mandate, a complete mandate from the electorate in 2018. Said, now we are a divided Barbados society. She said, I want to go back and get a mandate from the people. It tells you that she figures that she has had a significant political significant decline in her political capital.
Mm-hmm. Nothing irregular.
She's saying that. And Sarah, 2 years, 18 months, 2 years, basically, from your term, your tenure is very significant. If I were her political advisor, and I said to her, let us go ahead and cut off a 2-year chunk from your tenure, I'm seeing some significant problem down the road that would emerge even to a larger degree in 2023 that I would advise her to go ahead now. There's something beneath which we don't know. We're not on the ground in Barbados, but there's something significant that is saying to her, there's danger ahead. Let us go back to the people now and get a mandate. And she has said it. She wants a new mandate. She has all 30 seats in Parliament.
Well, she did give one to the opposition. She did give one to the opposition.
No, that's a Senate seat. That's a Senate.
Yeah.
Right, because they appoint senators. They have bicameral legislature.
Yeah.
So this is the senator. If she appointed somebody in the Senate. So there's something significant. There's some political significance into her calling the snap election 18 months ahead. I don't think we're going to have a camelist.
Let's see if we can take.
I think Mia has a significant. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to allow you to finish the thought and then come in and see if we can get the audio now.
Yeah, I think I'm wrapping up. I think she still has significant political capital in Barbados. But also, I don't think there's any politician now on the scene in Barbados that matches her political skills. And that, in combination with her intellect and her ability to apply both her intellect, she's a brilliant woman, and her political skills. I don't think there's anybody on the Barbados scene right now who can match her.
Well, I like the sound of that, and I believe folks are following, and this election, as Ronald said, is going to be studied for a very long time, and especially if it goes south, it's going to be studied for a real long time. Let me see if we have the audio now. Let me try it from the other end. Nope, this audio doesn't want to play for us there at all. Give me 1 second. Let's just try it one more time and see if we can get it. This one is behaving a little stubborn. Right, it doesn't seem as though we're going to get it, but quite a piece of audio talking about the broader implications of what Mia is proposing currently there in Barbados, and I wanted to bring that for you. Go ahead, Rickford, with any other thoughts you have on what's happening there underlying Barbados, and especially if Mia talked early on. We were playing the audio for our listeners about Barbadians reappointing her, re-electing her rather, as Prime Minister because of the fact she's kept them safe at home, she has not abused power, and all of those things. She has increased their stature on the world stage and all of that. If we were to use those things as barometers locally, if the PPP call a snap election, by January month end, February month end, where are we?
Well, before I answer that question, I want to go back to the argument of autocratic rule, because I think it's very significant. And I'm an advocate for democracy. I think what is resonating in Barbados is the argument by both the opposition leader, Mr. Lee, and the Verley, who is the leader of the DLP, that he's emerging as a dictator. I agree with some of that perspective because of the way she governs. And you see, any strong leader would have that problem, especially a leader, a strong leader who has the entire parliament. Some amount of invincibility will emerge. And so I think she has been caught in that trap. Just to say, if you go down the line of Caribbean leaders that face that problem, of course you have our Forbes Burnham, Errol Barrow, Williams in Eric Williams in Trinidad. You had a little bit of it with Manley in Jamaica, and then of course you have Fidel Castro, and then you had Bishop in Grenada. Mm-hmm. That faced, these are very strong leaders, intellectual, visionaries, but they kind of go for absolute control, right? They want to grab all the political space. And I think Mia dangerously is on that line. I don't think she's crossed the line, but I think she's dangling dangerously on that line because of her style of governance and her as a very strong leader. And remember, she's a woman in politics in the Caribbean. And a woman in politics in the Caribbean faced some challenges. And so she uses her strong intellect, political skills, and governance, to govern. And so some people might see that as a bully. Right? Some people in Barbados say that she's a bully. So she has that problem, and it's resonating in Barbados. And I like it's going to be interesting to see how she deals with it. On to the Guyana scene now. Now, I don't predict Guyana can call a snap elections. We don't have a proper electoral system. We don't have a proper electoral commission. Our commission is too cumbersome the way it's appointed. I don't think politicians should be on the elections commission. I think the elections commission should be made up of noble statespersons who are civil servants and technocrats. And the commission should be appointed by the parliament on a bipartisan basis. The opposition should nominate 7, or let's say 4, or the government should nominate 4, and then you have a consensus kind of mechanism, a mechanism to arrive at a consensus chairman. So I think we have, in looking at electoral reform in Guyana, we have to, first of all, restructure the Elections Commission. It's fraught with danger because of the manner in which it's appointed. But the other significant issue is that I presume Barbados has a very accurate voters list. In Guyana, we don't have a voters list that's accurate. In Guyana, we have, I don't have 100%, and this is in no indictment, this is in no way challenging the integrity of the Chancellor of the Judiciary, but the Chancellor is just one person. And I have the utmost respect for the Chancellor and some of the other judges, but I don't think the judiciary in Guyana is fair and balanced and interprets the law based on the intent of the law and is guided. And some of those judges are guided by the law, constitution, right? And the intent of those pieces of legislation that guide election. And that's why we have a mess coming out of all of these rulings that came down last year. We have a mess. We have an electoral process where the law is scattered all over the place. Right now, based on those rulings, Sherrod, any ballot in a box must be counted. Yeah. So if I go and take my neighbor's dog and put its paw somewhere and mark X on a party, right? And Superman fly into the polling place and put it in a box, the law said, the rulings, the case law said it must be counted. That is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And it's a disgrace to our country that we have judges saying that invalid or fraudulently cast ballots must be counted once it's in a box. It is absolute craziness. And we live in a country here where the presiding officers throw out ballots all the time. Once they are not valid, they don't comply with the law, they must be thrown out. And the courts are saying in Guyana, no, you can't throw them out. It's absolute sense. And they have created a mess and a mockery of the electoral process, all because we had a very weak government. What the government should have done, the APNU government should have done, is gone to Parliament and pass a law mandating the Elections Commission to go and do house-to-house voting. Why are you going to wait? Why, as a government that has a mandate from the people, that I would put that power into an unelected Elections Commission to make sure election chairman to make that decision? No, if the government, if the APNU government thought that there should be a new voters list, they should have gone to Parliament and passed a law mandating it. That's how people govern. So you had mistakes on all sides in Guyana. So I don't think our electoral process is ready for a snap election. Why? Because you have a elections commission that is never prepared. You have a voters list that has more voters on it than actually exist in reality, which must be corrected. Mm-hmm. And also, you have a population, I think our population is not used to that kind of knee-jerk political action. But the people can come along, campaigns can whip up people and mobilize people. But I don't think our electoral process and our electoral system is designed in such a way for a snap election.
Point taken.
Sorry for going off like that, Jared, but I have to get that out.
Point taken, and all of it is very, very relevant. And folks, we aren't going to exhaust this discussion on Mia Mottley and the impending Barbadian elections. As a matter of fact, it's a subject we're going to come back to again and again as we approach the elections and perhaps in the immediate aftermath of those elections that are going to be held in Barbados on, I think it's January 19th. That being said, Rickford, I don't want to have you here and don't ask you about matters that are happening on the ground here as well. We have visiting with us currently. I don't know if her and her delegation have left as yet. I haven't seen any official word on that. But the Right Honourable Baroness Patricia Scotland, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, is visiting. And I've been searching for the particular reason why the Baroness is visiting. I've been reading through all of the reports and I can't seem to find a particular reason the Baroness is here. I know she met with the installed Catfish air finale day before yesterday. Yesterday, she met with the leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Mr. Aubrey Norton, and a delegation from Congress Place there. What do you make of the Baroness's visit?
Well, I don't know why she's visiting Guyana. I found it very interesting that she sneaked into Guyana and met with the president, and were it not for those photographs, he would not have known. Well, I heard that she was in Guyana, but I wasn't sure until I saw those photographs. I think what happened is that the PPP wanted to make her visit secret to surprise the opposition, so that we didn't have the situation where the president of the U.S. Bar Association went to visit Guyana, a very large, significant organization with significant power and influence in the United States, and they didn't permit them to meet with the opposition or facilitate those kinds of meetings. And the meetings happened, and the man issued a very stinging indictment after about what is happening in Guyana. I think they wanted to avoid that. And so they wanted her visit to be a secret. But as you know, we made a lot of noise. And as a result of that, I can proudly say as a result of that statement that CGID put out, she met with the opposition yesterday. And Sharon, it was important that Baroness Scotland, for whom I have the highest regard, I met her at the United Nations in 2020. It was important that she gets another perspective than the perspective of these catfish racists.
Yep.
Because Guyana is not a one-party state. Guyana has an opposition, unlike Barbados, a true opposition. As a matter of fact, the government only has a one-seat majority. Mm-hmm. And we must not allow the PPP to dominate the entire political space and give the world the impression that they have a one-party state and they monopolize politics in Guyana. Yes, they monopolize racism. They can go and tell the world that, but not politics. They don't speak for all of the people of Guyana. They, because of their racism and because of their nasty apartheid politics. They have divided the country. And so it's important that when international dignitaries visit Guyana, they must hear the other side of the story. They must meet with the opposition. They must meet with other civil society leaders. Because the PPP doesn't speak for all of Guyana. They speak for their own racist ethnic supporters. And so it is important for Barnes Scotland to get a perspective from the opposition of what is happening in Guyana. Because, as you know, she had made some very derogatory remarks about the last government with regard to the election. And her Commonwealth came to Guyana to observe the election, led by Owen Arthur, the late Owen Arthur, reported only one side of the issue with regard to the recount. And so it was important for her to meet with the opposition. And I think, Chad, going forward, we have to make sure that any international dignitary, particularly international leaders of international organizations, they must meet with the opposition.
Yeah. You know,
it is absolutely unacceptable
when I was
for international dignitaries to come to Guyana and not meet with the opposition. We have to make sure that we'll force them to do it, even though it's diplomats in Guyana that represent the international community. The American ambassador, the British ambassador, the Canadian ambassador, the ambassador from the European Union, together, which we call the ABC ambassadors. They must start meeting with the opposition, with the PNC, with other political parties, particularly the American ambassador. She must stop behaving as though she is the ambassador to only the East Indian population of Guyana. And the PPP supporters, and meet with the other East Indians who don't support the PPP, and the Amerindians who don't support the PPP, and the Afro-Guyanese leaders, and the opposition, parliamentary opposition. It is important to the country because we are on a collision course with dictatorship, with tyranny. And the international community must accurately assess the political situation on the ground in Guyana, and also accurately, and I want to underline the word accurately report back to their capital about the political situation on the ground in Guyana.
And we have that that recent example, and kudos to them when they had their state visit. I'm trying to remember the president's name. Just as the previous administration was wrapping up its tenure, the African country, Rickford, you're sharper with these things. My thoughts. Ghana.
Is it Ghana?
Yeah. The president of Ghana met with the opposition, and even if it's for the sake of continuity, I see Jagdio and his ilks were able to capitalize on that by them reciprocating that with the Ghanaians currently. And so even if it's on that footing. And when I was an undergraduate reading law, you know, one of the first things we learned is audi alteram partem. The Latin phrase says, hear the other side. You have to hear the other side. And that is one thing we pride ourselves with here in the ring. Friday, we have an open mic and we say, we don't care who you be, call in and let's talk. Hear the other side. It's a very, very fundamental principle in law. You have to hear the other side, and you would think that these guys at this international level would be capable of doing this. But the Baroness is not somebody that is a stranger to controversy, because they were trying to get rid of her just the other day there as Commonwealth Secretary General, because she was doing a lot of shady things. And a lot of capitals around the world were frowning in their faces and were refusing to pay any monies to supplement the expensive of the Commonwealth Secretariat there. So she got her own problems. So she should be the last person, really and truly, to picking sides.
Yeah, well, I think what you said is true. Even the government, called for her to step down and said that she shouldn't be reappointed, and she's not going to be. She's going to step down shortly. There were some corruption charges to run, but I want to focus on that. The only significance is that she's tying, she had been demonstrating some sort of bias towards the PPP, which is the most corrupt government in the region. So I'm not sure she wants to align herself too closely with the PPP because of corruption. But let me hasten to say this. It is not only the Ghanaian head of government, every international dignitary, when the APNU government was in power. They came together, met with Barjack, there was opposition leader, even members of Congress, the members of Congress that he's cursing out now and calling racist. They met with him.
Yep.
But what they're doing, I was
maybe
appalled.
Rickford. What? What was the last
I was
bit?
appalled that the vice president of Guyana visited Guyana and did not meet with the opposition. I was appalled that Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, the racist representative of the Trump administration, visited Guyana, did not meet with the opposition, didn't even have the common decency to meet with the mayor of the city that he's in. And that is because they were misled
maybe
by their folks on the ground in Guyana.
As we wrap up,
you cannot foster division in a country. But go ahead, Sherrod, you wanted to make a point.
I was going to add there that maybe we were too ting, as we say here. We were too ting under the Granger administration because we know the diplomatic corps had carte blanche to reach with anybody they want to reach with. You know, they met with Jack Joe several times. They were meeting with the army, meeting with the police. You don't see. I don't think our head of the consulate or embassies in Washington or what have you can just go and meet with generals in the U.S. Army just like that. You understand how we operated here, right? We were really
the Granger administration was weak. We have to face the fact President Granger was a weak leader. He allowed all of these things to happen in the country he didn't even know, or he allowed it. He was a weak leader, and they disrespected the country for that. And in addition to that, President Granger he's an introvert, and so he isolated people. He isolates people that challenge him or people he has differences with. So because of that, he isolated his government from the people. He isolated his party from the people, the region, and the national community, right? And country. And so we have to now work to build back that respect in the international community, because David Granger significantly, through his weak leadership and his lack of political acumen, he caused significant damage to the coalition. And so the coalition as an opposition now has to work to regain that credibility and that respect in the international community. And Barjack knows that. The PPP knows that. And they're capitalizing on it by trying to isolate the international community from the opposition, but we can't allow that to happen. We have to break down all of those doors and those barriers, because Barjack and the PPP don't represent all of the country. They, because of their racism and apartheid policies, have divided the country. So when international dignitaries come to Guyana, they must not only listen to the PPP only represents their ethnic followers and ethnic support base. There's another side of the country, half the population, and those people must stand up for their rights and stand up for the rights of their representatives to be respected.
Correct. Rickford, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. We have to have you back because, as we said, these are not issues we can conclude in just one podcast. The Barbadian election, what's happening on the ground here. I am eager to see what is the official reason for this visit, because this is not that spontaneous visit. The Baroness is looking to get something out of this. You don't just shop in the country and meet with the government, meet with the opposition for no reason because you were in the airspace passing through. So I'm eager to see what is the official reason and what comes out of this. Perhaps she's looking for some mandate on her own behalf, some staying power as Secretary General there, and so she's trying to get a few things done.
She's about to leave office.
Well,
so you're right.
Well, so let's see what is the official word, and I'm eager to see too what comes out of the PNCR on this officially. Rickford, thanks very much for joining our podcast. It's always a privilege to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, Rickford Burke there from CGID, that is the Caribbean Guyana Institute of Democracy there in New York. Rickford, my brother, thanks so much for coming by today.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Great. Folks, that's our program for today. That's our podcast for today. Pace and Power in 2022. We've gone over just a little bit. We've gone over just a little bit our program time, but we hope you have an appreciation. We tried as much as possible to see if we can pack all that in just an hour. We know you guys have other stuff to do. Well, some of you got other stuff to do, and we wanted to get as much information to you guys as possible. That being said, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining the podcast today. It made a difference. You guys showing up for our programs or podcasts here below the belt in the ring always makes the difference, and we cannot thank you guys enough at all. We're still trying to see if we can get that audio for you, but this looks like it's not going to happen today. And we will perhaps have that in another installment of this discussion on the impending Barbadian election. And folks, Ronald Austin says this every time he's here. What happens somewhere in the world is so interconnected. Some little ripple somewhere affects us here. And so we're going to continue to follow what's happening on the ground in Barbados. We know we have a large Guyanese population there as well, and respect and manners to each and every one of our Guyanese countrymen there in Barbados. Continue to keep our country's flag flying high. Guys, that's our program for today. Thanks for joining us, folks. And we always say, do these programs without you. So come on board and help to be a partner to keep these programs rolling forward. Jackie Beard, we see you. Anne-Marie Selby, we see you. Ainsley Ben Morgan, we see you. Jackie Beard, I see you there as well. And all you other fantastic folks who want to come on board and help our programs. We have several platforms available because we're an affiliate of the In the Ring program. We use their platforms. We are available via the Cash App. It's the $ in the ring 592. That's our Cash App handle. We are available via PayPal. Our PayPal email address is in the ring 592 at gmail.com. We're available via MMG. That's the Guyanese local cash app. The number there is 627-6963, 627-6963. We're available via MoneyGram and Western Union as well. Guys, come on board and help our programs to continue. Help us to build out our program. We got other things. We got other digital media products we're going to be offering you guys shortly. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe wherever you are. COVID is real. Delta is real. The Delta variant. The Omicron variant is real. The IMU variant is out as well. That's real, folks. Get vaccinated if you can. Practice all the COVID-19 protocols that are in place for your health and your safety, that of your friends, family, and loved ones. Folks, that's below the belt for today. Thanks for joining us. Brenda Braffett, Adam Passad, Maxine Monroe, Marlene Winnet Glasgow, Yolanda, thanks for joining us. Jackie Beard, Desiree Manuel, Sandrine Beard, thanks for joining us from around the world, folks. We're going to see you tonight back in the ring at 8. Thanks for joining our international podcast, Below the Belt. That's our time. See you soon. Stay safe, guys. Stay safe.